He was just my best friend's son, harmless, young, almost like family. But that one sleepover night something happened I never saw coming. And once it began, there was no going back. He was just my best friend's son. That's how it started. That's how I justified everything. That's how I calmed the war in my chest every time he looked at me with eyes that saw right through the years between us. I never meant for anything to happen. I'd known Emma since college. She was the one who pulled me through heartbreaks, job losses, bad haircuts, and those long nights of wine-fueled honesty. When she got pregnant at 22, it was a shock. But she raised Ethan like a warrior, and I admired her even more for it. I watched Ethan grow up. I held him in my arms when he was just a few hours old. I brought him picture books on his 5th birthday. I watched him try to impress girls at his 10th grade school play. I was at every one of his birthday parties. He used to call me Auntie Leela, but something shifted. I wish I could tell you the exact moment. Maybe it was the summer he turned 21. He had just finished his junior year of college and came home for break. Emma was hosting a barbecue, and when he walked into the backyard, something in my breath hitched. He wasn't a boy anymore. He stood taller than I remembered, with this quiet confidence in the way he moved. His jaw had hardened, his voice was deeper, but his eyes, those Dan eyes, still held that same glimmer of mischief. I remember catching myself watching him laugh across the patio. My wine glass trembled in my hand, and I told myself it was just nostalgia, a reminder of time slipping through fingers like water. But then he started looking back. At first, it was innocent. Maybe a second too long. A smile that lingered. The way he always found a reason to sit next to me, even when there was space elsewhere. He'd say things like, "You've still got that same glow, Lila," and I'd laugh it off, calling him a flirt. Emma teased him about it once, said he was always a charmer, just like his dad. She had no idea how those words coiled in my stomach, tight and heavy. Then came the night that changed everything. Emma had to fly out of town last minute. Her sister had an emergency, and she asked if Ethan could crash at my place for a night. Her apartment was being fumigated, and he didn't want to stay at a hotel. I said yes without thinking. It was just one night. We ordered pizza and watched a movie, something mindless. He stretched out on the couch like he owned the space, and I poured us both a drink. I shouldn't have. I shouldn't have crossed that line. But I did, and when he clinked his glass against mine and said, "To old friends," I felt something unravel. We talked about everything. His classes, my job, my failed marriage. The way I sometimes felt invisible in a world that only valued youth and gloss. He listened, really listened. And when I told him about how lonely I'd felt lately, he looked at me like I was the only woman on the planet. I told him he was sweet. I told him to stop looking at me like that. But he didn't. And he kissed me. It was soft, slow, almost hesitant. I froze. The air left the room. I pulled away, heart racing, eyes wide, whispering, "What are you doing?" "I've wanted to do that for a long time," he said. "I know you feel it too." And the truth was, I fought it. I tried to. I stood up, told him it was late, that he should go to bed. But he followed me, gently, insistently. Not a boy begging, a man demanding to be seen. He kissed me again, and this time I didn't pull away. I gave in. To the heat, the loneliness, the years of holding everything in. It wasn't rushed. It wasn't some wild, animalistic thing. It was slow, deep, tender, like he'd been waiting to touch me forever. And I let him. We stayed up all night, tangled in silence and guilt and skin. In the morning, I couldn't meet my own eyes in the mirror. I told him it was a mistake. I told him it could never happen again. He didn't argue. He just nodded, said he understood. But the damage was done. I tried to bury it, to pretend nothing happened. But something inside me had shifted, and I couldn't pretend. Not when he texted me random things. Not when I saw him at Emma's and he'd brush his hand against mine like a secret. I became someone I didn't recognize. We met again and again, always in secret, always behind Emma's back. I was living a double life, swimming in guilt and desire. I told myself I was protecting her, that she didn't need to know, that it wouldn't last. But lies rot from the inside out. It was 6 months before the truth came out. Emma found his journal. I'll never forget the sound of her voice when she called me. Broken, disbelieving, betrayed. "You were like a sister to me," she cried. "How could you?" I had no answer. I tried to explain, to apologize, but the words felt cheap. She hung up. I haven't seen her since. But that's not even the twist. The twist came weeks later, when I found out I was pregnant. I sat on the bathroom floor, hands trembling, 2 pink lines staring up at me like a curse. I didn't know what to do. I told Ethan. He didn't run. He didn't freak out. He held me and said, "We'll figure it out." But I didn't want to figure it out. I wanted to undo it all. I wanted to go back to the moment I poured that first glass of wine and slap it out of my own hand. I thought I was lonely before, but nothing compares to the isolation of hiding a secret like that inside your own body. I didn't tell Emma. I couldn't. I went away. Told people I needed a break, a vacation. I hid the pregnancy, gave birth in a city hours away, to a little girl. She has his eyes. I gave her up for adoption, and then I came home, pretended nothing had happened. Wore sweaters to hide the changes in my body. Told people I'd found clarity. The truth is, I've never felt more lost. Ethan still reaches out. He says he forgives me, that he loves me. But how can you love someone who destroyed the one person who loved you unconditionally? I think about that night often, how one sleepover shattered everything. Not just my friendship, not just my integrity, but a version of myself I'll never get back. I thought I was strong. I thought I was wise. I thought I was above temptation. But the heart doesn't care about titles, or timelines, or age differences. It just wants what it wants. And sometimes that want can ruin everything. Now, when I look in the mirror, I don't see the woman I used to be. I see the woman who crossed the line, who broke her best friend's heart, who gave up her child because she couldn't live with the consequences, who sleeps in a house full of silence. And every night, I hear Emma's voice in my head. "How could you?" And every night, I still don't have an answer. I tried to distract myself with work, hobbies, anything. I volunteered at shelters, signed up for yoga, even joined a book club filled with women who still laughed easily. But nothing filled the void. Nothing shut out the echo of what I'd done. Every birthday that passed, I wondered if the little girl I gave away was safe, loved, if she would grow up never knowing the truth, that her mother was a coward, that her life began in betrayal. Ethan never gave up. He kept texting. Sometimes just a "thinking of you." Sometimes whole paragraphs that I couldn't bear to read. He begged me to talk, said he still wanted a future, said we could start over. But how do you start over when the foundation is cracked so deep, it runs through your soul? One afternoon, I finally agreed to meet him at a park, neutral ground. We sat on a bench under a sycamore tree in a space that felt too public for confession. His face lit up when he saw me, like I was still worth something to him. He looked older, or maybe just more serious, like life had peeled something away from him too. "I still love you," he said. "I don't." I lied. He winced, but he didn't flinch. "I don't believe you." "You should," I whispered. "You deserve better than this, better than me." He reached for my hand. "You gave up our child." I froze. "How did you?" He pulled out a photo, a small printed picture, a slightly bent at the corners, a snapshot of a baby, maybe 6 or 7 months old, wrapped in a yellow blanket. "Her name is Elise," he said. "The adoptive parents sent this." I registered for updates through the agency. I blinked hard. Yub, you did that. I needed to know, needed to feel connected. I reached for the photo with trembling fingers. That tiny face, her nose, my nose, her mouth, his. My heart crumbled. I wanted to raise her, he said. With or without you, I would have tried. A tear spilled before I could stop them. I didn't think you'd want her. I didn't think you'd want this life. I wanted all of it, he said softly. The mess, the struggle, you. I pulled my hand away, ashamed. You were 21, Ethan. I was 39. People stared, judged. I judged myself. I wasn't strong enough. I was a man, he said. Not just your best friend's son. Those words, that truth, they hurt more than any slap. He stood up, shoved his hands into his jacket pockets. I won't chase you anymore. But I needed you to know. You weren't alone. You made a decision, but don't pretend I didn't matter. And with that, he walked away. I stared at the picture for a long time. Elise, she had a name, a family, a life that I gave her by walking away. And maybe, just maybe, some kind of strange love lived in that sacrifice. Months passed. Emma never forgave me. She blocked me everywhere. I saw her once at the grocery store, and she turned around so fast, you'd think I was a ghost. And in many ways I was. I had become a phantom of the woman I used to be, drifting, hollow. I didn't date, couldn't. Every time someone tried to make me laugh, I felt like I didn't deserve it. I still wore guilt like a second skin. Then one night, I received a letter. Handwritten, no return address. It was from Emma. I sat at my kitchen table, staring at the envelope for an hour before I opened it. It said, Leela, I hate you for what you did. But I also hate that I miss you. Some nights I dream we're back at that barbecue, laughing about men. Before everything shattered. I wish I could go back. But we can't. I'll never forgive you. But I want you to know I'm trying not to hate you forever. Tell her about me one day, if you ever get the chance. My chest caved in. She knew. She'd found out. Somehow, somewhere, the truth had leaked through the cracks. And now she carried it with her, like I did. Another casualty in the story no one saw coming. I didn't respond. There was nothing I could say. But I keep that letter in a drawer now, next to the photo of Elise. Sometimes I wonder if Elise will find me one day, if she'll ask why I gave her up, if she'll hate me too. I have no idea what I'll say, but maybe I'll show her that letter. Maybe I'll tell her about a woman named Emma and a boy named Ethan and a night that should have never happened. Maybe I'll tell her I loved her, even if I never got to hold her. Maybe, just maybe, that'll be enough. Or maybe not. Some betrayals never heal. Some stories aren't meant to be forgiven. And some of us are just meant to carry the weight of our choices until the very end. I started therapy, not because I believed it would fix anything, but because I couldn't keep holding this story inside. The silence was beginning to feel like a punishment I hadn't earned yet fully deserved. The therapist's name was Grace. She had soft eyes and the kind of voice that made you want to confess things you didn't even know you were holding. She didn't judge me. Didn't flinch when I told her I had slept with my best friend's son. When I told her I gave away the child we created. She just asked, when did you stop believing you deserved to be loved in the first place? I didn't have an answer. Each session, we peeled back layers I didn't even remember building. My parents' coldness, my string of failed relationships, the emotional abandonment I'd learned to normalize. I'd spent my whole life being the dependable one, the friend who showed up, the woman who smiled through broken glass, the strong one who never needed anything. And yet I had needed something, badly. That night with Ethan wasn't about lust. It wasn't even about power. It was about being seen, fully, honestly, vulnerably, and feeling like I mattered, even for a moment. That realization didn't make it right. It just made it human. Still, humanity doesn't erase consequences. The rumors started. Small town, sharp tongues, quiet glances that lingered too long in church pews and checkout lines. I caught a group of women whispering once, eyes flicking toward me, then away. I didn't blame them. I had become that woman, the walking scandal, the whispered cautionary tale. One Sunday afternoon, I stood outside a bakery and ran into Emma's mother. She looked at me with a mix of heartbreak and fury. "You were like a daughter," she said. "Emma cried for weeks. She still cries." I nodded, took it like a stone in the chest. I didn't defend myself. What could I say? Then she said, "She told me she forgave you, but that doesn't mean she ever wants to see you again." And somehow that hurt worse than hate, because forgiveness is final, but distance is forever. I didn't tell Grace about Elise right away. It took almost 3 months before I said her name aloud. "Her name is Elise," I whispered, as if speaking it too loudly might break me. "I didn't name her, but I feel like she's mine." Grace said nothing, just let me cry. That night, I pulled out the photo again. I thought about her laugh, her first steps, the way her face would light up at something small, like a toy or a song. I thought about the way she might one day ask her adoptive parents, "Where do I come from?" And I wondered if I'd ever be brave enough to answer that question. Ethan called one last time. It had been a year since we last spoke. I almost didn't pick up, but something in me said answer. He sounded older, more grounded. "I just wanted to let you know," he said. "I'm moving." "Where?" I asked. "Seattle. Got a job offer. New start." "Good for you," I said. But my voice cracked. "I don't hate you," he said quietly. "I never did. I hate myself enough for both of us," I said. Silence stretched between us. Then he added, "You were the first person who ever made me feel like more than just a kid." That meant something. "I know," I whispered, "but it wasn't fair." "I know," he replied, and that was the last time we spoke. I don't know where he is now. I don't know if he's found someone new, someone younger, someone with less emotional baggage and fewer ruins behind her. I hope he has. I hope he built something beautiful. As for Mep, I write letters to Elise that I'll never send. I keep them in a box, tucked in my closet, filled with stories about who I was, who I became, and what I lost along the way. I write to her about the moon, about how I hope she chases dreams without fear, about how her life came from love, even if that love was twisted, flawed, and broken. One day, when she's old enough, maybe she'll come looking. Maybe she won't. Maybe the silence will stretch until I'm nothing but a memory in the wind. But I'll wait, quietly, patiently, because part of loving someone, truly loving them, is being willing to wait, even if they never come. I still think of Emma every day. I imagine her sitting at her kitchen table, sipping tea, maybe smiling again. I imagine her surrounded by friends who never hurt her, who never crossed lines they couldn't uncross. I want to believe she found peace, but I also know I took something from her she'll never get back, and that truth is my penance. Sometimes healing doesn't look like reconciliation. Sometimes it looks like living with the H-hip and choosing not to run from it. So I stay in this small house, in this quiet life, with my guilt, my growth, and my ghosts. And every now and then, I take out the photo of Elise. I hold it against my heart, and I whisper the only thing I know to be true. I loved you enough to let you go. I loved you the only way I knew how, and maybe, just maybe, that will be enough. Some stories don't end with closure. They end with lessons written in pain, etched in silence, carried alone. This story wasn't about lust. It wasn't about age or scandal or forbidden nights. It was about longing. For connection, for validation, for something to feel real in a life full of masks. But real doesn't always mean right. And love, real, complicated love, doesn't always justify the damage it leaves behind. She didn't just break trust with her best friend. She broke trust with herself. with the part of her that used to believe in clean lines and clear boundaries. And when those lines blurred, when a single night unraveled everything, there was no going back. She lost a friendship, a child, a version of herself she'll never recover. But sometimes survival means living with the H, not fixing it, not justifying it, just owning it. She didn't ask for forgiveness. She didn't expect redemption, but she faced her truth. And in a world built on secrets and shame, that alone is a kind of courage. Maybe some stories aren't meant to be tied up in bows. Maybe they're meant to haunt us, to remind us who we were, what we chose, and what it cost. And in that haunting, maybe there's healing.